Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is Eridania, once again with a few of my co-workers from Dignity of Children, hosting another wonderful Uplift session. We have another special guest, and I would love for you to please get yourself comfortable, be present, and get ready to have a wonderful time. We have Reverend Melissa in the house, and some of you may already know her. For those that do not know her, please know that she is an interfaith minister. She's also an affirmative prayer practitioner. She is a purpose coach. Talk about living on purpose. She holds a Master's of Arts in Spiritual Psychology, and she's the mom of two beautiful, wonderful teenage girls. I would love for Melissa to take on this session and have you start thinking about how you can design your life from within, if you're not doing that yet, in order for you to live from a place of joy. So without further ado, here is Reverend Melissa with us. Thank you, Melissa, for being here.
Let me take myself off of mute. How about that? Oh, it's so wonderful to be with you all. First of all, I just want to thank Sonia Toledo, the visionary, the founder of Dignity of Children. It is just my joy and pleasure to be with you all tonight. Eridania, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. And I am just so excited. I've been thinking about this all day long. So I see that we have folks on Facebook Live. So I just want to give a shout out to everyone who's joining us on Facebook, and you can still participate because Eridania has her eye on what's going on Facebook. So if you have any questions, you can definitely just put them in the comments and she will bring it into the Zoom room. And if you're with us here in the Zoom room and you are able to turn on your video, I would love to see your face, but no pressure. If you don't want to, it is just fine. All right, so Eridania shared with you all who I am, what I do, what I'm about, and it really comes down to two words for me: joy and yes. My feeling tone is joy, and I say yes to life. And when you say yes to life, life says yes back to you. So the focus of our workshop tonight is learn how to design your life from within and experience more joy. So let's get that up, Emily. We're going to turn over to the PowerPoint, and let me just set you up so that you are aware. So this is not a lecture, right? This is an interaction. So I'm going to have us do some work this evening. So if you have a pen and something to write on, grab that, because we're going to be doing some exercises together. And if we're designing our lives from within, then we have to do some inner work. We have to do some inner work, and we have to be engaged. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So I want to start off the next slide with you all. And it's one of the verses that I really think is the key to how you design your life from within. And so the Tao Te Ching is a sacred text. It's from thousands of years ago. And there's a verse in that text that says, within, this is where the world's treasure has always been. So you see that map, right? So where are you going, right? We are going within. A lot of times we think the answers are outside of us, that they are external, that they are triggered by, the kind of work we do or the people that we're around. But that's not it. The treasure is within you. So that's where we're going. That's where we're going today. Next slide, please. So we're talking about learn how to design. How do you design? I love that word. How do you design your life, right? And experience more joy. How do you design your life from within and experience more joy? So one of the design tools that we have to use is how we think. How are we thinking about ourselves? So I have a quote here from a book that I just love. It's called A 30-Day Mental Diet by Willis Kinnear. And it's a class that I teach, and I'm teaching right now, actually. And it takes you on a 30-day journey of how you're thinking. It's a mental diet. And so one of the quotes that I pulled out from there is clear, consistent, affirmative patterns of thought will be creative of a fuller, richer life. It is yours for the thinking and for the carrying of the thought into action in your daily living. So clear, consistent, affirmative patterns of thought. That is a design tool, right? You got to get your thinking right in order to design a life from within and experience more joy. So, what is your pattern of thinking? So, this is a key point. It's not just these fleeting thoughts that come and go, it's the pattern of thinking, that is really what is creative. Okay, next slide. So Oprah Winfrey said, create the highest, grandest vision possible for your life because you become what you believe. And the belief is about what you're thinking. Belief is about what you are thinking about yourself. So that's a question that I have for you all. What you think matters. So what do you think about yourself? What is your pattern of thinking? Are you critical of yourself throughout the day? Are you focused on thinking about what it is that you don't want to design in your life? What do you think? What is the pattern of your thinking? So that's one question to ask yourself. What was I thinking about today? The other day I said in Morning Sip, what is your trending thought? What thoughts are trending in your life, right? If your thinking was an algorithm, right? What will show up as the number one thought, the trending thought for that day? Would it be something that's positive or would it be something that is negative? Would it be something that is uplifting or would it be something that is bringing you down, right? So this is important. What do you think about yourself? Next. So what we're going to explore today, because we're going to do a practice today. We're going to do a practice with each other. So one of the questions that I want you to write down is, what thought about yourself are you ready to release now? So think about those patterns of thinking. And we have like 70,000 thoughts a day. And most of the thoughts that we have are repeats. We don't have a lot of new thinking going on. And a lot of the thinking that we do is in the past. So we spend a lot of our time thinking about things that already happened, or we're spending our time thinking about the future. We spend a very small amount of time thinking in the right now moment, which is all that we really have. We have right now. So right now, my thinking is being with you all, being present with you all, wanting this to be a valuable experience for you all. That is my thinking. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do tomorrow, and I'm not thinking about what had happened yesterday, right? So what thought are you releasing? What thought are you ready to release? What pattern of thinking? What story are you ready to let go? So I want you to write just a question down. What thought right now I am ready to release? What is it? Just write that down. Okay, just write the question down because we're going to have some time to flesh out what it is that we want to release. Next slide, please. And then when we release a thought, it's not enough to just release it either, right? Now you might be thinking, Red Melissa, this designing is complicated. Okay, so I got a response here. Right now, I am ready to release. Pull it back up for me, please.
Right now, it says, I am ready to release all of my stress in school.
Okay, right now I am ready to release all of my stress in school. That is a wonderful example. So I'm gonna push on that just a little bit, because releasing the stress that you're experiencing in school is an external activity, right? What is your thinking about yourself in relationship to how you are experiencing school? What is the conversation that you're having with yourself about yourself as it relates to school, right? What is the thinking that is causing the stress? Thank you, Eridania. That's a very succinct way of putting it. So it's not about the school. A lot of times we want to assign things that are happening in our lives to something or someone external to us. But the invitation here, when we're designing, right, we're starting with the blueprint, right? And the blueprint is within us. That blueprint is our thinking. So more important is, what is it that I'm thinking about myself as it relates to the stress that I'm experiencing in school? It's wonderful to release the stress, right? But what about the thinking behind the stress? And so when we release that thought, that pattern of thinking, we need to invite something else in, because now we created a space. Right? And nature is like, oh, there's a space. Let me fill it with something, right? But instead of having circumstances fill it, we're going to fill it. And so we're going to fill it with that which we want to embrace, right? So what thought about yourself are you ready to embrace now to design your life with and as, is the question. So I released that old pattern of thinking. So maybe that old pattern of thinking is, I'm not good enough. Maybe I have a pattern of thinking that I am not good enough. Now, what is it that I'm going to replace that with, right? And it can simply be, to start, that I am enough. I am enough. So that's an internal conversation that you will have with yourself as it relates to that wonderful example about stress in school, right? So I am enough. I am enough to handle whatever this experience of school is presenting to me. I am enough. I have everything within myself to show up, to be present, and to do the best that I can, right? Because when we're designing our lives, we need to be gentle with ourselves, because we've had years and years and years and years of conditioning and of thinking a certain way about ourselves, right? Now, thinking pattern, it becomes easier for me to figure out how to manage my time efficiently. Okay, I can't see the rest of that, but I got the gist of it. Yes, because you are creating if you're in a house and you're designing a house, right? And you have a certain amount of square footage, then you know that this is the container in which you can design all the rooms, right? So in how you're thinking about yourself, you're also creating a container for yourself. And you get to decide what thoughts are going to reside there and what thoughts have got to move out. What thoughts are you evicting? Okay? All right. Let's go to the next slide. Someone on Facebook said, I am ready to release my overwhelming feeling. My overwhelming feeling. Okay. Feeling is really important, right? Because it's the thinking and the feeling that go hand in hand. So my question to you would be, what are you thinking about? What is your pattern of thinking when you have this overwhelming feeling? What do you start to say to yourself? Do you add on Are you being gentle with yourself? Are you being kind to yourself when you start to feel those overwhelming feelings, right? What is it that you do to support yourself when you're starting to feel overwhelmed? And that leads us perfectly to a design tool that I call spiritual practice. So I have a question for you all out there. What are some of the practices that you now have that you use in your life that supports you? So the person that is feeling overwhelmed sometimes, do you have a spiritual practice, or do you have a practice that you do every day that supports you in eliminating some of that overwhelmness? So if you could type that in, that would be wonderful. And while you're doing that, I want to read this quote. Spiritual practices helps us to pay attention to the places where our minds drift during the day. And we may find that we may need to redirect our mind into areas of greater health and wisdom. So this is important because our mind goes, our mind is just going, right? And so when we do a spiritual practice, we are training our minds. We are training our minds, right? And so we are allowing those thoughts that are positive and uplifting. Wonderful. Meditation and exercise helps me. Wonderful, Valerie. That's a great practice to have because it's a perfect balance between the internal and the external. Beautiful, beautiful. I would love to hear what other folks are doing every day. Yes, tapping. Oh, tapping is beautiful. And I know Eridania is really good, a really good EFT practitioner. Wanda, praying and singing, prayer and singing, beautiful. Those are beautiful practices. Beautiful practices. The person that was feeling overwhelmed, did you respond? Because I would love to know what your practice
Yes,
is.
on Facebook, the person wrote meditation and listening to motivational videos.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So we want these spiritual practices that some of you have shared to become a daily practice, something that we do every single day. Okay, Makai said, well, sometimes I like to listen to music because music helps me eliminate a lot of stress. Music is a dynamic tool to use. It really has a physical impact on us. Oh, yes. Someone on Facebook said 333. That's somebody that's in my congregation of joy, I'm sure. So let's go to the next slide. So Whoopi Goldberg, I love Whoopi. And Whoopi had this to say. I've learned to take time for myself and to treat myself with a great deal of love and respect because I like me. I think I'm kind of cool, right? Isn't that fabulous? So do we think we're kind of cool? Do we think that we are worthy of treating ourselves with love and respect? Yes. Yes, we are. And so there is something that we can do. So what is it that we do now? Right? You gave some examples of what you're doing now. You could go to the next slide. You gave some examples of what you are doing now. And so that's wonderful. So we're going to go to the next slide. Sometimes when we think about spending more time designing our lives, sometimes we get this voice that says, oh, that's selfish. You can't put yourself first, right? This happens a lot for mothers, especially, right? We are conditioned to believe that the number one thing is our children, right? But I'm here to tell you that the number one thing, the number one person that you have to take care of first is yourself. Because what you're doing for your children, what you're demonstrating to your children is self-care, is self-love, is self-respect, right? So selfish is not a dirty word. It's not, because we cannot pour from an empty cup. So we have to take care of ourselves first. So if you are designing your life from within, you have to have the inner tools to do that with. And so in having the inner tools to do that with, you have to take the time every single day. So somebody wants to know, what is 333? So not only are you going to know what 333 is, you're going to do 333 this evening. All right. So the last quote I want to share is, it's not selfish to love yourself, take care of yourself, and make your happiness a priority. It's a necessity. It's a necessity, right? So just think about, if you're building a house, right? I'm going to keep using that house analogy. If you're building a house and you're using old stuff, old materials that's all worn out, what's going to happen with that house? It's not going to have a good foundation. It's not going to be strong and sturdy, right? A good wind comes and might get blown away. So everything that we use, we have to use it. We have to use it fresh every single day, right? It's something that accumulates over time, something that we renew for ourselves every single day. And that, I call that divine selfishness. Divine selfishness, to take care of yourself, to put yourself number one on the list. Some of us don't even have ourselves on the list. So let's move from number 20 up to number 1. That's right. Facebook, someone said, amen. If you can't take care of yourself, how can you take care of others? That's right. And I know the work that Dignity of Children do with professionals who are in that business, who are in that service of taking care of others, young children, teenagers, and after-school programs and childcare services. It's really important that you choose yourself first. It's so important, because you're going to empty yourself out. You're going to burn yourself out. And then you're going to start thinking that it's the work, right? And you might start thinking, oh, I don't really like working with children. But that's not it. That's not it. You're not spending the time to replenish yourself, to rejuvenate yourself so that you can give. But first, you have to give to yourselves. We have to give to ourselves. So let's go to the next one. So here it is. We're going to practice a 3-3-3. So sometimes we think we don't have enough time in the day for ourselves. So this is a really simple, easy framework that you can do every day for yourself. And just like you're choosing yourself first, you're also doing this the first thing in the morning, because that's an indication that you're serious. I'm serious about me. I'm serious about designing my life from within. I'm serious about experiencing more joy in my life by doing me first. And so this is what we're going to do. It's called 3-3-3. So it is part of another process that I learned many, many years ago. And oftentimes people would say, well, I don't have that much time. Okay, so let's take baby steps. Let's take baby steps. So a 3-3-3 is a baby step. Okay, and so it incorporates meditation, inspirational reading, and journaling. And actually, it really is a 3-3-3-3. It's really 4 3s. I got to put that other 3 up there, because the last 3 is prayer. The last 3 is prayer. Okay? So this is what I would like for you all to do. Those of you who are on Facebook and those of you who are here with us on Zoom. We're going to do a practice together. And this is part of designing our lives from within. Because where did I say the treasure is? Where does the Tao Te Ching say the treasure is? The treasure is within. So if the treasure is within, we have to go within. We have to spend time within. And the wonderful thing is, you don't have to spend a lot of time within. But if you start off the day priming yourself in this way, in this spiritual way, you will give yourself what you need throughout the day. Yes, love the baby steps. Yes, we got to take baby steps. Sometimes we want to jump in and say, oh, I want to do a 30-30-30. I'm going to meditate for 30 minutes. I'm going to read for 30 minutes. I'm going to journal for 30 minutes. No, 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 no. You're going to stop. It's not sustainable. So we start off with baby steps. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is inspirational reading. Okay. And so I'm going to do a reading for you. And so this is part of the first three in the 3-3-3-3. All right. And so the reading that I'm going to share with you is from a text that's called Science of Mind. It's a magazine, Science of Mind magazine. And what I mean by inspirational reading is it is something that is uplifting, something that is positive. It is not the news. It is not the newspaper. It is not a feed on your Facebook or your Instagram. As a matter of fact, I would advise that you not check your social media first thing in the morning. The first thing that you check in the morning is yourself. Check yourself. Go and sit yourself down and check yourself by doing a 3-3-3-3. So something inspiring. It could be a sacred text. It could be the Bible. It could be the Tao Te Ching. It could be the Quran. It could be whatever it is that is uplifting. Okay? So I'm going to give you an example of the inspirational reading. And it's about spiritual practice. Okay? All right. So sometimes it seems that thought is nothing more than a movement of information through our minds. What makes a thought significant is when it is connected to heart and meaning, or infused with the warmth of feeling and the color of conviction. In The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes writes, we cannot say that one thought will create while another will not. We must admit that all thought is creative, according to the impulse, emotion, or conviction behind the thought. In my spiritual practice, I take time daily to sit in quietness and notice what thoughts inspire warmth and conviction in me. I want to become familiar with those pathways of thinking and convert them into intimate companions, So they are familiar and natural to me, as is my breath. When I think on those thoughts, sometimes silently repeating them to myself in the form of short affirmative phrases. The point of repeating an idea is not to force anything to happen, but rather it is to become clear on what is already true. And then through repetition, to become so intimate with the thought that it is embodied in the way I see the world. So our spiritual practice is a practice that incorporates our thinking, right? So a spiritual practice of thinking is really important. It is a pattern of thinking that has the emotion embedded in it. Okay? So that's an example of inspirational reading. Positive, uplifting. It gave me something to think about, gave me something to chew on. It gave me something that I could apply every day in my life. And then I could take that inspirational reading into my inspirational journaling, right? So earlier I asked you that question. What is it that you are ready to release? What pattern of thinking are you ready to release? So we're going to spend 3 minutes in our inspirational journaling, and you're going to write down, 1, what pattern of thinking are you ready to release? And 2, what pattern of thinking are you ready to embrace? Because remember, you cannot eliminate a thought without replacing it with something. Okay? So I'm going to set the timer, and I'm going to give you a heads up when we're at the midway point. All right? So again, the question is, what pattern of thinking are you ready to release? And what pattern of thinking are you ready to embrace? All right. So you have your writing, you have something to write on. If you have a journal, wonderful. If not, just write on some paper. All right. Okay, you could wrap up the first question and you could go to the second one. What are you ready to embrace now? What pattern of thinking are you ready to embrace? Okay, you could start to wrap that up. And you can pick this up before you go to bed tonight or in the morning. So that was just 3 minutes. That was just 3 minutes. So you see, your inspirational journaling, there's a lot of information within us. Mm. There's a lot of information within us that is seeking expression, that is seeking expression. And then the last is meditation. So for some folks, meditation is like a bad word. And they immediately think, oh, I can't meditate because I can't shut down the thoughts. I can't shut down the thoughts. But the thoughts aren't meant to be shut down. It's just how it works, right? We're constantly thinking. So instead of focusing on the thoughts, another thing that you can do instead of focusing on the thoughts is to focus on your breathing. You can focus on a mantra. There's so many different forms of meditation that you can do. One that I find that works best for me is guided meditation. So if there's some quality that I want to focus on that day, like if it's a quality of peace, I'll find a guided meditation on peace. And I'll use that meditation in my 3-3-3-3. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to do a 3-minute meditation of just focusing on the breath. That's all we're going to do is we're going to breathe in. We're going to breathe in through our nose. We're going to hold it for a second, and then we're going to release through our mouth. And that's all that we're going to do. When the thoughts come, you just let them come and you let them go. You don't have to respond to them. You just let them just go on about their business. Because guess what? Here comes another one, and another one, and another one, right? So you just focus on your breath. And we're going to do that for 3 minutes. Okay? So you can close your eyes. Let's get comfortable in our chairs or whatever you're sitting on. It's wonderful to place your feet on the floor so you are grounding yourself. Your posture is erect, as if you're being pulled up, as if there's like a thread at the top of your head and you're being pulled up so that your posture is good. You're relaxing your shoulders so you can kind of squish your shoulders up to your ears and then drop them down, because we hold a lot of stress in our shoulders. Speaking of stress, we hold a lot in our face so you can release your jaw, release your forehead, and just close your eyes or lower your gaze, whatever is more comfortable for you. Just do a quick body scan and release whatever tension you might be feeling within your body, and start to focus on your breath by taking a deep breath in, holding it at the top, and letting it out through your mouth. And you can let it out with a sound because no one can hear you. So you could take a deep breath in and let it out with a sigh. And really empty the breath. And do it one more time. Deep breath in. Hold it at the top and let it out. So we're going to go within. We're going to go within in our internal space into the silence and just be with the breath. I will keep the time and I will let you know when it's time to come back. And we take a deep breath in and out. as we come back into this present moment. And that was 3 minutes of meditation. And then the last 3 is prayer. So whatever form of prayer that you do is fine. Your prayer could just be a conversation with the divine. It's been said that meditation is listening to the universe and prayer is talking to the universe. So you could just have a conversation. You could just have a conversation. Eridania just put in the chat, what prayer did you teach your daughters? So when my girls were growing up, I don't know how many of you had this experience as children, but when I was a child, our bedtime prayer was, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. That is a scary prayer. If I should die before I wake, what are you talking about, Mommy? If I should die before I wake? I see you shaking your head, Wanda. Oh no, that's a scary. A lot of the lullabies, y'all, are very scary if you listen to them. And so I decided I wanted to teach my girls when they were very young, affirmative prayer. And so the prayer that I taught them goes like this: God is good, so am I. All is well. Thank you. Good night. And then we would do like a round of God and I are one. And then we would say, Mommy and I are one, and Daddy and I are one. And so it was a bedtime service that I would have with my girls before they went to bed. And to this day, they still say that prayer. So it's been about 13 years now that they've been saying that prayer. So whatever prayer resonates with you, that's the prayer that you would use to complete your 3-3-3-3. Right? We're talking 12 minutes. So can you give yourself 12 minutes first thing in the morning as a way to design your life and experience more joy? I guarantee that it will make a difference in your day. Guarantee it. Just try it out. That's all I'm asking you to do. Try it out for 7 days, right? Because consistency is very important. When we talk about our thinking, having consistent patterns of thinking, having consistent and clear and constructive patterns of thinking, the same thing with our habits, the things that we do every day, the designing tools that we are using for our lives. Some of us are using designing tools of binge watching. It's no judgment whatsoever. But if you're using watching TV all day long as a design tool for your life, take a look and see how your life is unfolding. Are you experiencing the things that you want? Or are you experiencing something else? Is it taking a long time for things to get moving in your life? What are you spending your time doing? Right? If you want to build a house, you got to work on it every single day. It's not going to build itself overnight, right? So we're building a muscle. We're building self-trust, self-love, self-trust, self-respect. It's important. It's important as a design tool for your life if you want to experience more joy. Yes? Okay. Next slide. So what will you do now? What will you do now? What are you willing to do? And so my invitation to everyone here in the Zoom room on Facebook is to do the 3-3-3-3. Just try it out. How about this? Try it for 3 days. Let's keep the threes going. Try it for 3 days. Check in with yourself. If it's good for you, do it another 3 days. And so let's just do it in baby steps of 3. 3, 3, 3, 3 for 3 days, and see if that makes a difference in your life. See how you start to cultivate that inner dialogue, that loving inner dialogue. There is a loving presence within you that is seeking your attention, that is seeking a relationship with you. And so we have to give that which is indwelling within us the time and the space and the energy so that it could move through us, and so that we are co-creating a life that we want to design on purpose and in purpose. Yes? The next slide. So practice is important. Perfection is in the practice. So it's not about doing your 3, 3, 3, 3s perfectly. It's about the practice, right? And so we build a habit by practicing. We build a habit by practicing. Next slide, please. Okay. So I am about that life. I'm about that living life in joy and connecting to your yes. And the 3333 is a designing tool that will support you in connecting to your yes, to connecting to your divine purpose, and to living life in joy, or living life in peace, living life in compassion, whatever it is that you want to live life in as. If you could only experience that through you, and how you are spending your time. And how you are spending your time with yourself. The most important person is you. The most important person to you is you. So let's act like it. Let's act like it. All right, y'all. So I wanted to leave a little bit of time for some questions, because Eridania has shared with me some questions earlier. Here is my information. If you want to get in touch with Red Melissa, there's my email. My website is iamredmelissa.com. For daily inspiration, I'm on Facebook Live Sunday through Friday at 10:30 a.m., where I just give a little sermonette to get your day going, to give you that little boost after you had a couple of hours in the day. And then on Wednesdays, I have a show called Live Life Enjoy, where it's like an interview type of show, and I share some joy news. So that's weekly at 12 o'clock. And I have a podcast called Sit with Red Melissa, and you can check out the podcast on Spotify and on other podcast platforms. So follow me, y'all. Follow me on Facebook, on IG, and on YouTube at I Am Red Melissa.
Thank you so much, Melissa.
Oh,
So
you're welcome, Eridania.
I definitely want to make sure that if anyone here on Zoom or on Facebook has any final thoughts or questions, that you guys are able to share that with us. So feel free to speak. So unmute yourself, or just write on the chat and I will read your comment, okay? I will also be sharing here on chat some information in order for you to be able to connect with Melissa. So she has a YouTube channel. You can find her there. You can find her on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, and then there is her website as well. Melissa, can you speak a little bit about how you work with organizations?
Sure. So this is, all right. So a lot of organizations aren't quite ready for me, because I'll tell you why. Because a lot of times they're looking at the external. So if there's an issue, if there is, and I'll give you an example. Evaluation. So most organizations have performance evaluations, right? And sometimes I'll do trainings on evaluations. And the training is not about the evaluation tool. It's about the relationship. It's about the relationship between the so-called supervisor and the folks that they are supervising. What is the nature of the relationship? That is so important. It's so important. Are we sharing? Do we have shared values? Right? Is my job, do I know how my job is feeding the overall mission of the organization? Do I know that my job matters regardless of what it is that I'm doing? So I want to have that conversation, right? And it's about leadership, right? So a lot of the conversation, a lot of the work that I do with organizations are with the leaders of the organization, the culture of the organization, and how they are showing up, how they are showing up. So I tell them they got to do a 3-3-3-3. They got to do their own work. They have to do their own work because it impacts everything. It impacts everything. People show up as they are, and they're looking at the leader for direction and for guidance. And what do? They mimic what the leader does. So if you're in a meeting talking about other people, guess what? Guess what kind of culture are you cultivating? So sometimes, Eridania, it doesn't go as as they think it's going to go. But at the end, I always get thank you. I always get the thank you. So it's all good.
Thank you so much for your answer, Melissa. That makes sense. It's all about starting from within, right? Even for
Yes.
at the organizational level as well. Someone on Facebook said, does Reverend Melissa do one-on-one sessions? And that is a yes. So I just want you to speak a little bit about the
Oh,
work.
yes, yes. So one of my joys in working with folks is doing what I call purpose coaching. So supporting people in discovering, reconnecting, remembering what their purpose is, why they're here, and the gifts that they have to give. So I do one-on-one coaching sessions with people, and it really is about the internal journey. So if someone reaches out to me and they're like, I want to be I don't know, a teacher. Let's say that. I want to be a teacher and that's my purpose. And I'm like, that is wonderful. That is wonderful. But we're going to spend time looking at and exploring what your limiting beliefs might be about teaching, what your limiting beliefs might be about children. So we're going to we want to discover what the limiting beliefs are so that we can start releasing those things because we don't want to put that stuff out on the children, right? No. We're whole and we're complete and we're healthy. And so are the children that we're working with. So that's just an example. So I work with people. It's one of the things that I love to do is supporting people and connecting to their yes, supporting people and creating a plan for their lives that they can operationalize, that they can apply every single day.
So I just want to read some comments here on Facebook. Someone said, yes, organizations are not ready for you, AOL. And yes, the culture of the organization is everything.
Yes.
Someone else said, is there a group or someone you would really like to work with?
Oh, I'm open. I don't have a particular group or someone. When people are ready, I'm ready for them. That's my answer.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I don't see any more comments here on the chat nor on Facebook. So if no one else has questions, I just want to say thank you, Melissa. This was a wonderful, wonderful treat for all of you, for all of us, to be mindful of our thought patterns, right? To always question what's the thought behind this feeling. I don't like how I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling stressed about work or school. How can I turn that around to empower myself, right? What's the new thought that I want to create and repeat it to myself enough times so that I can use that energy of emotion, right? Because what is emotion really? How do you define emotion, right?
Emotion is information.
Yeah, it's
Emotion is
information.
information. Yeah.
Or someone else, I heard someone say energy in motion too, right?
Yes.
So we always want to be upgrading our resources, our use of those resources. So how do we use our internal compass? Let's use it for our benefit. I love the exercise that you made us go through. I definitely wrote down a few things on my note here about the thought patterns that I'm ready to release and the thought patterns that I'm ready to embrace.
Yes.
Very useful. Thank you for walking us through that. This was very interactive. We got to experience one of your spiritual practices, 333. We got to learn what other people do to snap out of that vicious negative thinking pattern. And we have a better idea of how to create joy from within. Okay, so being mindful of our thinking. Again, thank you so much. I want to let Sonia Toledo, if she's around, to say something, or anyone else from our Dignity team. We have some interns here on Zoom live with us, and some youth professionals as well. Anyone would like to share any final thoughts before closing? We have some interns.
No.
Well, this is Denise. I just want to say hi, Melissa.
I owe you a call.
Hi, Sonia Toledo. How you doing? I just joined because I had some other things, and but thank you very much, Eridania, for giving that little summary, because I took notes. I missed everything, but I'm here for the last 2 minutes. And Sonia, I hope to be speaking to you shortly, okay?
Yes.
It's so good to hear you, Denise.
Yes, because I don't usually speak in these things. I'm very shy, and it's true. Okay. But I saw you, Melissa, you are the motivator. Melissa and I used to work together. Melissa was Director of Human Resources at Mission Society, and we have remained friends. So you'll never get rid of me, Melissa.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Denise. Thank you.
Again, I want to thank everyone. We will continue having a short discussion here on Zoom, but we are going to say bye to everyone else on Facebook, and those who are watching the recorded version. So if you want to be live with us and get some extra time with the speakers, please register ahead of time and join us on Zoom. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, Facebook people.
Bye-bye, Facebook.